Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Gaming Unscripted. This is Rob, and today we're going to try something just a little bit different. As you can see, we're back with more Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. This is part 2 in what I hope to be a short series. And I'm actually voicing over this particular recording. My dialogue is, of course, still unscripted, as the show denotes, but it was so much easier for me to edit this video and voice it over afterwards that I thought I'd give it a try. So let me know what you think. We're just making our way down through the clock tower here. And you know, I did a ton of editing on this video. I cut out a whole bunch of deaths. I forgot to save the deaths from trying to escape the clock tower. But I did tack on a small compilation of deaths at the end of this video. So if you stay tuned to the very end, you'll see a compilation of quite a few of the times that I died in the making of this episode. Took me a while to get used to how Grant can climb on the walls, and then things like that happened. Yeah, I cut out almost 15 minutes of extra footage of me dying and having to restart the stages. And I figured you guys might appreciate not having to watch the same thing again and again and again. I don't know why I would have done that. That was such a silly thing to do. I could have crawled on the roof. I'm sure I was thinking that exact same thing when I went through this originally. You know, it's kind of interesting watching my own footage here as it plays back in front of me, because I recorded this footage 2 or 3 days ago. And, of course, now I cannot remember exactly what was going through my head at the time, so I'm seeing some of these obvious mistakes. It's interesting to kind of critique your own gameplay. Yeah. You know, all in all, I actually really enjoy this Castlevania game. It's pretty solid. I'm not really sure that I fully appreciate the use of all the extra characters. I think I would have enjoyed it just as much if I'd only had Simon to play with. Those Medusa heads, they are just unrelenting. Oh, I just about died there. And there you have it. See, Grant's not bad. I really enjoyed the soundtrack in this stage, and if you've ever played the original Star Tropics, this song actually reminded me quite a lot of that. Maybe I'll play that in an episode sometime. Star Tropics on the NES. Really, really brilliant game for the time. It had some of the most unique gameplay I've ever seen. Or had ever seen, at least at that point, and I still don't think that anything has really created that same experience, and I am getting my ass kicked by these owls. They just won't lay off. And then there's this Oh man, I remember setting this moment aside when I was editing it. I cannot even begin to understand. Stupid hunchback. Stop interrupting my conversation with the audience. I cannot even begin to understand what would have inspired me to do this. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I thought that little bit of green brick out there was a platform. I have no idea, but that was retarded. I'm trying to get the purple skeleton, or red skeleton, out of the way so that he wouldn't stand up underneath me when I was climbing the stairs. Man, you know, when you don't play retro games for a long time, you forget how things like that happen, where, you know, you walk out of the screen and come back and the enemies respawn. When I was a kid, I never would have overlooked something like that. And as I said in the first episode, this is actually my first time playing through this particular Castlevania game, so I'm not familiar with it at all. And I tell you, in this next section we're coming up to here, I died a lot. I'd say, not including the deaths you're gonna see, I probably died an extra half a dozen times, which is 2 or 3 continues. And what you're seeing here is the footage of my final run through this area when I actually beat it, because I cut out all the repeats. So I had just about memorized exactly where the enemies are going to pop up. You know, I've said this in some of my other videos, but these old games, and I'll probably say it again in the future, these old games are all about pattern memorization. Just repetition, you know, again and again and again until you completely memorize the enemy patterns. Once you have it memorized, you know, that's when the games become easy. First time I went through here, because those enemies kind of glitch through the bottom of that little platform, I thought for sure I was going to take damage, so I kept jumping and falling off the platform. You know, I can understand how having Grant on your team would make this area so much easier, because there are sections where I totally took advantage of the ability to just crawl along the roof and avoid all the enemies. A little bit of a stutter there. I may have, I don't know if you're interested in this or not, you might not care, but I may have found a way to actually record footage, conveniently record footage from my actual Nintendo, which means I might not have to use emulators in the coming videos. See how that goes. Right now I'm playing it on an emulator with a PlayStation 4 controller. I really like the directional pad on the PS4 controller for the old retro games. It's very good. Yeah. I think this was the easiest boss I faced in the game so far. I don't understand why he wasn't the boss of the first stage. I mean, even with the weakest whip, because that's all I have here. Now, I'd like to say I'm getting better, and I know it looks like I'm getting better, but you have no idea how many times I had to repeat that stage. At least a half a dozen. I don't know where we are now. I think this might be the catacombs underneath Dracula's castle or something like that. Catacombs under the graveyard. So he just went through the swamp. Are those mummies throwing bandages? Never really had a chance to look at that when I was playing. Ugh. Oh yeah, this room. Let me just speed this up here for you. I really wanted to get in that bottom door for some reason. I guess I thought that it might lead to an easier path. You know, it's kind of amazing what the original composers were able to do with the soundtracks in these old games. Because this song, this little chiptune we're listening to here, has so much atmosphere. Oh. This is not my perfect run through this area. I guess none of my runs are perfect, but this is not the run through this area that I beat on my first try. I don't remember how exactly I edited it together. So yeah, this is where Grant really starts to come in handy, because you can climb on the walls and whatnot, and I didn't really enjoy using him in the beginning, but I really enjoyed having him for things like this, which I figured out later that I should just climb up those blocks instead of trying to jump onto the platform. The platform is all a ruse. Yeah, like things like that. Yeah, I died quite a few times here. Trying to decide what path I wanted to take and things like that. This is a little bit unusual for a Castlevania game, at least to my knowledge. I never played or really put that much time into Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest because it's broken in a lot of ways, poor translation and things like that, but at the same time, I don't ever remember Castlevania 1 having multiple paths through a given area like this. So you could tell that they really kind of tried to take level design and run with it in this game. Oh, just about walked off the edge there. I don't know why I turned back into Simon. I'm gonna have to turn back into Grant in 2 seconds anyways. Maybe I thought Simon would be better for making the jump. And that's probably why they put that platform there, because Grant jumps too high and he hits his head and then he falls, whereas Simon doesn't jump that high, so he has a much better chance of being able to do it. There's eyeballs that look just like that in Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. When I got here, I was like, oh goodness, Dracula already? Maybe Dracula's not the boss of the game in this one. I mean, maybe he's not. I don't know who the boss of the game is in this one, but... And down we go. And here we are again. Look at that, the magic of video editing. I actually had to go through the whole stage all over again there. But why bore you with that all over again? This is probably the 3rd or 4th time I tried to kill this guy, and I couldn't find a good strategy for it. I feel like you were gonna get hit no matter what. And I don't have a secondary weapon, so it kind of narrowed my options. It was really close. Just like the fight with Grant. But we beat it. Ta-da! Second partner character. I'm pretty sure that the emulator glitched here. I don't think it's supposed to look like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I need you to help me destroy Dracula. What will you do? Take him with you or leave him behind? I'm glad to hear that. So now we have Alucard, and Grant says goodbye. Yeah, I don't know why it does that flashy, glitchy mess like that. I don't know if it did that in the original NES version or not. I'm sure that it didn't. Alright. So now on to the next stage, and this is close to where I think I'm gonna leave it for this episode. Give Alucard a try for a couple of minutes and see how that works. I remember, yeah, I couldn't really get into how he played, and I'm sure I'm not playing him right. There's gotta be something else. I think he could turn into a bat, but I couldn't figure out how. At least I'd heard. I don't know how I didn't die right there. And there we go. So everybody, Thanks so much for tuning in to the second episode of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. Remember, leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought of this particular voiceover. I did try something a little bit new. Give us a like if you liked the video. It helps everybody else see it. And until next time, remember, don't touch that pixel.